She looks calm on the surface, but something deeper is moving. And if you're not paying attention, you will miss it completely. Most men do. They see what is visible, they hear what is said. They assume silence means peace. But silence is not always peace. Sometimes it is emotion being controlled, held back, managed quietly. And a woman who is quietly jealous becomes one of the most honest mirrors you will ever face. Not because jealousy is something negative, but because of what it reveals about her feelings, about your value, and about the connection between you. If this kind of truth connects with you, stay here. Subscribe to this channel because this is not surface level content. This is where things go deeper. This is where we talk about what men feel but rarely hear explained clearly. Hit subscribe and let's begin. There is a version of jealousy that is loud. It reacts instantly. It argues, raises its voice, and accuses directly. Most men understand that version. It is obvious. It is easy to identify. It gives you something to respond to. But there is another version, a quieter one. A version that hides behind calm behavior, behind normal conversations, behind small changes that most people don't even notice. And this version is far more important, not because it is manipulative, but because it is deeply human. Jealousy is not hate. At its core, it is fear. Fear of losing something that matters. Fear of being replaced. Fear that someone else might take your place in her world. But instead of expressing that fear openly, she keeps it inside. She stays composed. She acts normal. But behavior always tells the truth. And if you are calm enough to observe without reacting, you will start to notice. The first quiet sign is a shift in her attention. Not something dramatic, not something obvious, just a small change in how she notices you. You casually mention another woman, a friend, a colleague, someone from your past, and for a brief moment something changes in her eyes. She doesn't react, she doesn't question you directly. She moves on. But later she asks something. It sounds unrelated, but it isn't. She is circling back, quietly, carefully. She is gathering information without exposing herself. A woman who feels nothing will not do this. A woman who is not invested will not notice like this. But when she starts becoming more aware of who you are around, that awareness is a signal. It means you matter. It means she feels something when she imagines losing your attention. She just doesn't want to say it out loud because saying it means showing vulnerability. And many people would rather stay silent than expose that, so you won't hear the words, but you will feel the shift, a slight tension, a subtle change in tone. A moment where the warmth pulls back just a little. That is the first sign. The second quiet sign is when she becomes more competitive. And this one confuses most men because it doesn't look like jealousy. It looks like confidence. She starts focusing more on herself. She talks more about her achievements. She improves her appearance. She becomes more active, more expressive, more present. And if you're not paying attention, you'll think she's just doing better. But look deeper. When did this start? What happened right before it? Was there a moment where she felt like she wasn't your focus? Quiet jealousy often shows up as competition. Not against you, but for you. She is not saying anything directly, but her actions are saying, I'm still here, I still matter. And that matters because people who don't care don't compete. Indifference doesn't try. So when she suddenly elevates herself in a way that aligns with your attention, it is not random. It is a response to something she hasn't spoken out loud. The third quiet sign is how she asks about other women. Not directly, not aggressively. She won't say, tell me about her. Instead, she asks lightly, how do you know her? What is she like? She keeps it casual, almost like she doesn't care, but she listens very carefully. She watches your tone. She notices your energy. She reads between your words. This is not insecurity in a weak sense. This is awareness. She knows that asking directly would expose too much. So she gathers information in a subtle way. She's trying to answer a question she doesn't want to say out loud. Do I still matter to you? And your response matters more than you think. Not just what you say, but how you say it. If you become defensive, she notices. If you become calm and grounded, she notices that too. Your stability is what settles her. Not explanations, not over-reassurance, just presence. The fourth quiet sign is a shift in physical behavior. Sometimes she pulls back, less touch, less closeness, a slight distance, not completely cold, just different. Other times she does the opposite. She becomes more affectionate, more intentional, more present physically. Both come from the same place. Fear of losing connection. Some people withdraw when they feel uncertain. Some move closer. What matters is not the direction. It is the change. That change is information. It tells you she is feeling something she hasn't expressed yet. And if you are aware enough, you will notice it. Not to control it, not to use it, but to understand. The fifth quiet sign is subtle criticism of other women. Not harsh, not obvious, just small comments. A remark about someone's appearance, a small judgment about someone's character. It sounds like a normal opinion, but context matters. Why this person? Why now? Often she is comparing, quietly trying to confirm that she still stands strong in your world. This is not about negativity, it is about insecurity that hasn't been spoken. And the wrong response is to react emotionally. The right response is to stay grounded, because your steadiness communicates something powerful. It tells her she does not need to compete. It tells her her position is not under threat. And that is more powerful than anything you can say. The sixth and most subtle sign is that she tries to get your reaction. Not attention, reaction. She wants to see if you still feel something when you see her. So she makes small adjustments. She dresses in a way she knows you notice. She places herself where you can see her. She slightly changes how she behaves around you. Not in an obvious way, just enough to test you, to see if something still moves in you. And when you respond, even slightly, something settles inside her. Because connection needs confirmation sometimes. People need to know they still matter. And when she does this quietly, it shows self-respect. She won't ask directly, but she still needs to feel it. Now step back, because this is not just about her behavior, it is about what it means. A woman who shows no jealousy is not always secure. Sometimes she simply does not care. And there is a difference. When you see these quiet signs, you are seeing emotional investment. She feels something, she cares, and that matters. But your response matters more. Because weak men use this to feel powerful. They create jealousy on purpose. They play games. That is not strength, that is insecurity. Real strength is different. Real strength is seeing her vulnerability and not using it against her. It is staying grounded. It is being steady. It is being clear. Because a man who knows himself does not need to create doubt to feel valuable. He already knows who he is. And that kind of presence changes everything. It removes tension. It removes insecurity. It creates stability. And that stability is what makes a man truly attractive. So if you notice these signs, don't just focus on her, look at yourself. Because quiet jealousy is also a mirror. It reflects your value. It shows that you are becoming someone worth noticing, someone worth keeping. And the answer is not to slow down. The answer is to continue. Keep building yourself. Keep growing. Not for her, for you. Because the moment you start changing yourself just to manage someone else's emotions, you lose yourself. Slowly, quietly. So stay focused, stay grounded, stay consistent. And when she is ready to express what she feels, be the man who can handle it with maturity, without ego, without judgment. That is real strength, that is real masculinity, and that is built over time. Through discipline, through awareness, through choosing growth every single day. Because the man you are in private is the man she feels the most. Not what you show, but who you are. So become that man fully, not for attention, not for approval, but because that is your real standard. And living below that is the only real loss. If this message connected with you, subscribe, come back, stay consistent, keep becoming. But we're going even deeper now, because seeing these signs is one level, understanding them is another, and becoming the kind of man who handles them correctly, that's the real shift. Most men notice something is off, but they react the wrong way. They get tense, they start overthinking, they begin asking too many questions, or worse, they try to fix something that was never broken. And in doing that, they actually create the problem. Because quiet jealousy doesn't need pressure. It needs stability. It needs a man who doesn't panic when the energy shifts. It needs a man who can feel what's happening without trying to control it. This is where your level shows. Because when her energy changes, your reaction reveals everything about you. If you become insecure, she feels it. If you become reactive, she feels it. If you try too hard to reassure, to explain, to prove, she feels that too. And all of that does one thing. It lowers your presence. Not because you said something wrong, but because you stopped being grounded. Now understand this clearly. A grounded man does not rush to fix emotions. He observes, he understands, he stays steady, because he knows something most men don't. Emotions are temporary, but your presence, that stays. So instead of reacting, he holds his position. He stays calm in his tone. He stays consistent in his behavior. He doesn't suddenly change how he acts just because she feels something. And that consistency creates trust, not forced trust, natural trust. Now let's go deeper into a mistake most men make here. They think they need to handle her emotions. They think they need to say the right thing. They think they need to reassure her constantly. But too much reassurance actually creates the opposite effect. It signals that something might be wrong. It creates doubt where there wasn't any. Because when you over-explain, you look uncertain. When you over-reassure, you look like you're trying to prove something. And a man who is trying to prove something feels less solid. Instead, a strong man does something simple. He stays normal. He stays himself. He doesn't change his energy. He doesn't chase her validation. He doesn't try to fix what she hasn't even expressed. He simply stays grounded. And that grounded energy does something powerful. It relaxes her, because now she doesn't feel like something is slipping. She feels stability. and stability removes fear. Now, here's something even deeper. Quiet jealousy is not something to avoid, it's something to understand. Because it only appears when there is value, when there is emotional investment, when there is something real. A woman does not feel this way about a man she doesn't care about. She doesn't track him, she doesn't compare, she doesn't test, she doesn't notice. So when you see these signs, it's not a problem. It's information. It's telling you that you matter. But what you do with that information matters more. Because immature men use it to gain power. They create more jealousy, they test back, they play games, and slowly they destroy the connection. But a mature man does the opposite. He stays clean. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't test. He doesn't try to create reactions. He simply continues being who he is. And that is what keeps the connection healthy. Now think about this. What kind of man are you when things are easy? And what kind of man are you when things feel uncertain? Because the second one, that's the real you. Anyone can be calm when everything is perfect. Anyone can be confident when they feel in control. But when something shifts, when energy changes, when emotions become unclear, that's when your level shows. That's when your discipline shows. And that's when your growth becomes real. And this is where most men lose it. They break their frame. They start chasing clarity. They start asking too many questions. They try to force answers. And in doing that, they lose their presence. But the man who understands himself does something different. He allows space. He allows emotion. He allows things to unfold naturally because he knows if something is real, it doesn't need to be forced. And that mindset changes everything. Now let's bring it back to you. Because this entire conversation is not really about her. It's about who you are becoming. It's about whether you can stay grounded when things are unclear. It's about whether you can trust yourself instead of chasing reassurance. It's about whether you can hold your position without needing control. Because that is what creates real strength. Not dominance, not control over others, control over yourself. And when you have that, you move differently, you speak differently, you respond differently, you become harder to shake, and that kind of man, he doesn't need to worry about losing anyone because he doesn't lose himself, and that is the real difference. So as you move forward, don't focus on decoding her every move. Don't focus on trying to control the situation. Focus on yourself, your presence, your stability, your growth, because when you get that right, everything else becomes easier. You stop overthinking, you stop reacting, you stop chasing, and you start becoming. That's the shift. That's the level most men never reach. And that's the level you're stepping into. Stay there, stay grounded, stay consistent, because the moment you master yourself, you stop worrying about everything else. And that's where real power begins.